Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, my name's Ben. I work at Triton College as the sustainability coordinator. I started there in September of 2023, and I work kind of directly out of the facilities operations and maintenance department. So I'm involved in different projects that try to make the college more energy efficient, different equipment upgrades, and yeah, various projects to reduce the carbon emissions of the college and make things more efficient. I'm also involved in, you know, engaging students in sustainability. In terms of how I first got involved in sustainability, I'd have to go back to high school. I went to OPRF high school and I took an AP environmental science class. And I just found myself having a lot of fun with it, really engaging with the topics and learning. This is something I really find interesting and would want to continue into the future. So when I eventually went off to college the following year in 2019, at early, I was kind of exploring different majors, figuring out what I wanted to do. I took it was like three. I took a lot of environmental sustainability classes my first semester because I saw that as a major that was really interesting in a lot of ways, like branched into a lot of different areas of science. And it really piqued my interest. So, I took those classes and I kind of just instantly fell in love with what sustainability can be, how it applies to different areas of science, how it, applies to things like justice and health even. I'm a big fan of like intersectional environmentalism. The fact that sustainability and environmentalism can really just hit on so many different areas. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it, and I realized that sustainability is something that I want to work in, and I wanted to continue in my future beyond college. So that became my major. And then upon graduation, I worked in a summer program in Chicago Public Schools at Solorio Academy High School for the Green Corps
No
program.
way.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool. We should touch on that
Okay,
later.
yeah, yeah. Do you know the Green Corps
Yeah, yeah,
effort? Yeah, so I was the assistant teachers for that summer program. So much fun.
yeah.
Really incredible program. Unfortunately, it ends when the summer ends because the kids got to go back to school. But that's when I was able to get the opportunity at Triton College in September of 2023, and that's where I've been since.
Nice. Yeah, that's so cool that you worked at Solodium. Oh, I think it's important we shout out. I know your dad is actually a teacher, and I've invited him on the pod. I've mentioned in previous episodes, he was the one that really inspired me in that trail. I'm sure you spent summers in classroom checking up on his frogs and stuff.
I did, yeah.
Um, but you want to like shout out teachers or the OPRF one?
Sure, yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, definitely I have to mention my dad as like a big reason I got into, environmentalism and sustainability at large. So it's always been, something he's a big proponent of and always, practicing it. And so that's something I kind of grew up with and kind of, I took his classes. And so it's always been a part of our family. But then I would say, like, yeah, I would want to shout out actually the first teacher I had at Earlham, where I went to college, where I like really honed in on my interest of sustainability, and I felt like I truly understood like, kind of what the scope of all of it is and the value that it has. And so her name was Jamie Pavey. She's my advisor throughout college. Really great professor, and yeah, really worked well to help students like myself find their place in the professional workforce of sustainability and also kind of explore that path because there's many different paths you can go where you can make a meaningful difference in environmental work.
Yeah, definitely. What have you done at Triton to better the campus? I know we started sustainability office that you sort of oversee and run. So what has been done?
Yeah, so yeah, technically there is a sustainability center at
Yeah, the
Triton,
center, sorry.
but I'm the only like employee. So it's,
Yeah.
it's kind of just me, the sustainability coordinator. But yeah, there's been a few things over the years. I mean, I think some of the more exciting things would be the bioswales that we have on campus. That's something I really love to talk about. For those who don't know, bioswales basically an area designed to increase drainage and decrease runoff during rain events. So it's a kind of sunken area where you plant, native plants there, with some rocks and other things, so that when the water falls on the lots of concrete and blacktop, that we have at Triton, it can then flow into these natural areas, and it creates some natural filtration of the water, helping clean the water, but also prevent things like floods. So I find that to be a really great, natural adaptation to the many impermeable surfaces we have on campus. In addition to that, we've installed some new electric vehicle charging stations. So I really love that. We, really incentivize, if you have an electric vehicle, come to Triton. We have lots of chargers. It's a good price, and that's been a really great project as well. I'd say, outside of that, I'm also really proud of the Greater Maywood paddling program that we've started at Triton. I did that in collaboration with a professor of philosophy at Triton. And that's been so fun. Basically, what it is a program in collaboration with the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. And it allows us to take Triton students to the Des Plaines River, which is very close to campus, and get on our very own kayaks for the day and paddle downstream together. And I found that it's been really powerful for the students who have gone on it. And they say that it's a great way to connect with nature. And we asked them at the end, like, what do you want to do, like, in the future? Like, how could we, change this or make it different? And there's always students saying, like, oh, we should, bring stuff to pick up trash next time, or like, how can we, like, better the pollution in the water here. So I find that having that experience in nature, they're already thinking about ways to take care of their local nature preserves. And so I find that's been really, really valuable as well. So those are some of the more like exciting projects. We've done some replacements of things like chillers and heating systems, so drastically reducing, the emissions of the campus, and bringing down costs as well, which is great. But yeah, those are some of the more exciting projects that like.
You touch on something that's very interesting because it's how I got involved through your dad's shot team, and probably something in your high school that was experiential. The trout still sticks with me to this day, and that's like sort of how my story started. But do you think, depending on the situation, depends on the impact and how involved people get? Did you just want to deeper into a topic, or did you actually go out in nature?
Yeah, so I would say we didn't actually go out much in that class. I think maybe we had a field trip, but I wasn't able to make it. But I do think what you touched on, that experiential learning component, is I think really crucial to environmental work, because I think you'll find anybody working in this space has some experience where they point to where they're like, this is really where I connected with our planet, and this is why I care about it. And for me, that was just growing up, spent a lot of time in local nature preserves. And that's why I find the Greater Maywood paddling program so powerful, is because, even though a lot of the students lived, not too far away from Cook County Forest Preserves, it was a lot of their first times being there, especially on the Des Plaines River. And so, having those experiences makes it so much easier to connect with, the value of the nature preserves and what the planet, and it gives a big why we should care about environmental work and issues like pollution and climate justice and more. And so I think that is like experiential learning is something that I always want to find ways to provide for students, because having that connection then leads directly into action.
Yeah, definitely. What do you want to, is there anything you want to do or are working on in the future that you want to see at Triton?
Yeah, for sure. I would say a few things I'm hoping to accomplish over the next year. A big one that I've started working on this summer is composting at Triton. So I think there's a lot of interest from students for it, and I think it'd be a fantastic program for Triton in terms of reducing our food waste in our cafeteria. And so I'm hoping to, by the fall semester or in 2026, if needs be, to have a few stations in the cafeteria where people can very carefully sort through their food and compost, the food scraps that can be composted, and then also providing compostable take-home containers or even just reusable containers that people can, if it's the right word, but they can check it out for the semester, kind of like as if it was a library. You check it out, and then you can continue to reuse that reusable container. Because currently we unfortunately have styrofoam on campus, and so eliminating that has been a long-term goal of mine. And I think providing compostable containers, compost in the dining hall there, is going to really dramatically reduce food waste. And then you can also then educate students about composting. Some of them might have no idea what it is. What can I compost? Well, we have it here. Here's our great program, and here's what you can and can't compost. And then they can take that knowledge home and hopefully spread composting even further.
Yeah. That's so cool.
The truth is, the environmental club, the students hold a lot of power at the college. Your voices do matter. So if you voice that you want stuff like composting and other projects, that helps me out a lot. And like you said, I think we've kind of seen a lot of student interest in it. And I think it's something that people would jump on board. In terms of things that I'm hopeful for in the future, expanding the solar arrays that we have on campus. We currently have a solar array on top of the CERN Earth and Space Center, which is a fantastic place for those who haven't visited. I highly recommend. But on top of that building, we have some solar panels that provide a little bit kilowatt, hour generation for the college, but it's a pretty little one. And we've talked for a while at the college about implementing some more solar. And I'm hopeful that can be something that's explored in the new year. Now, there's been a lot of on the way to doing that. Most recently, just what's going on in our country, and the reduction of some of these incentive programs, which would have been really helpful for Triton to do a project like this. But I'm going to keep fighting towards it because I think that we have the space on campus, and I think it would be a great way to dramatically, if we put in a lot of panels, dramatically reduce the emissions of the college and kind of bring some more clean energy to the campus, because there's a lot of systems that we've looked at and we've made them more efficient, so they're not, creating as much emissions, but, obviously clean energy is kind of unbeatable compared to even just an upgraded system. So yeah, hopeful some solar can make its way to campus as well. It's something I'm excited for.
That's the key building.
Yeah, or if you're interested in solar, we have a renewable energy technology program actually. So you can learn all about solar panels and wind energy and enter the workforce as someone, working on either building, installing, repairing solar panels and solar arrays in Illinois. Yeah, it's a great program.
So that's really cool that Triton offers that. We both serve on the River Forest Sustainability Commission. We're gonna try not to talk about policy, but I'm gonna see how it goes because I'm curious. I want to see a lot, but it's hard in a big group. I don't know if you feel the same way of moving things forward. So, when did you join? And
Yeah, I'm trying to think back now when I joined. I think it was almost a year ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, this is summer of 2024, maybe towards the end of summer, around where we're getting to. And I've really enjoyed being part of the Sustainability Commission, to work along, fellow members of the village who are passionate about bringing sustainability to all aspects of the village and educating folks about different things that they can do to be more environmentally conscious. I think I've been really proud of the work that we've done so far. I just find it so sometimes I'm sure you can relate to this, working in environmental spaces. It's easy to feel like there's a lot of things up against you, but working alongside like-minded folks on the Sustainability Commission, I really appreciate all of them and all the work that we do. I think it adds a lot of value to the village.
Yeah, same. Small changes can make a big impact. We saw each other for July. Well, you still have a few days, and you can not purchase plastic bags even in July. You said that students' voices matter. Yes, we do use them when we find them necessary. But what do you think? What should a college's focus be? Because I feel like there's so many people that want to with thinking. There's so many things on campus that we could do. The administration support. Should they first just start with lobbying for a sustainability coordinator if they don't have one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. What I would say to, yeah, if there's students interested in starting an environmental club, you don't necessarily have to, you know, hit the races, with the impact that you're making. Just coming together, finding some students, who are like-minded, care about, environmental issues, just getting together. You've already like double, quadrupled your power just by getting a few people together. And when people come together in a club like that, leads to many different ideas, and then that can kind of help guide the direction of the club. I'd say an environmental club can have a very different scope, kind of depending on the members of the club and what college you're at. But I think an environmental club act that it creates a space for people to talk about environmental issues, and we talked about how that can then lead directly to change. But also you're showing that people care about this. And when students show that they care about something, colleges listen because you pay money to go there, and your voice matters in that way. So I've been really happy that you've helped, start the environmental club at Triton. I think we've done so much just to bring people together and get involved in different things that we've had on campus, and be a leader of and the environmental initiatives that we have on campus, and kind of beyond too. So I think, yeah, clubs have a lot of value, bringing people together, and then kind of the ideas just start from there.
Yeah, community does make an impact a real these times.
Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
doesn't even have to be on that issue. It can
Yeah.
be on another issue.
I feel like I need that. Like when I meet with you guys, the Environmental Club, the Sustainability Commission, it's easy to get discouraged, especially with what's going on currently in our country. And I think it's important to remember that there are people that care about sustainability, very strongly, and want to see the same things that you want to see happen. It's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to see in communities more? Like, I really want to see bike lanes in River Forest and beyond. It can be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I consider myself someone who loves biking, so more protected bike lanes, I would certainly feel safer biking around Chicago and such. But in terms of other things I'd like to see in communities, I think I'd like to see, I think Oak Park and River Forest both do a great job of this, through the Sustainability Commission, and obviously, all that Oak Park does. Really having a plan for and goals that you're working towards as a village or a town for sustainability. I think because that helps provide a lot of direction, and then you work on stuff over time, as opposed to just like, oh, we should do something environmentally friendly, like let's do this. But when you add in a plan that you're kind of working towards over 5, 10, even beyond years, that way you're kind of scaling your progress, and it ensures that the work continues in villages. I also think, if I was in charge of a village, like lots of community events, I think are really valuable for people to get together and talk about environmental issues. Like how do you deal with what's going on in the world? What do you think about it? What do you think we should do? Like, all these different things. I think it's important conversations to have, and then people learn from each other, and I think that's really valuable as well. I think something that we've kind of worked on in the Sustainability Commission along those lines is seeing what your neighbor does. If they've got solar panels, yeah, I'd rather learn about solar panels from my neighbor than like a salesman at my door or something like that. Like that's just it's easier in that way. And then the more you see of something, the more it's going to happen. I want to make I think your goal as a village is you want to try to make sustainability just a commonplace thing that is automatically thought of, when you're planning different projects, and also when you're thinking about, what.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can definitely start doing those speeches. So be prepared, River Forest. But I feel like it gets people engaged and community events, cleanups.
Yeah.
But things like that. This is going to piss off your dad. We're starting this new thing where we ask someone that knows our guests if they haven't burned out of you, I guess, or just in general. So, do you have anything or multiple things that give you hope? Or I guess since you see these questions, you could pick any of them or answer all of them.
Sure, yeah. Well, let's start with hope because we were kind of touched on it a little bit. I would say the things that give me hope, try to pick something different other than people because I've talked a lot about that. I think what gives me hope, one thing that I always try to think about is that we have the solutions. We're very smart as people. We've kind of figured out how we can solve the climate crisis in terms from a scientific and technological standpoint. We have the technology, we have the capability to reverse what has been done and set a course for better future and mitigate some of the effects of the climate crisis. Now, we've got a long way till actually doing those things, but I'm comforted at least in the fact that we know what we can do. It's just a matter of convincing people this is what we should do and we really need to do it now, which again is a very hard fight, but at least knowing that we have solutions and once we get to actually enacting them, they're already there. So that gives me a lot of hope that one day, if everyone can agree that we need to do something about the climate crisis, then just like that, it can immediately start happening.
Yeah, yeah. If I was president, I would create a list of things everyone has to do, and they would get a fine if they didn't.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we'll need leaders like you. I think it's important for the future. Yeah.
I
That's the next question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What parts of the natural world feel comforting or healing? I would say for some reason, anytime I'm around a body of water, I find that's the place that I feel really connected, with our world because I think water flows through our body, flows throughout the entire world. It's the biggest part of our world, I would say. There's water everywhere. I love just like nature, it can come in, any kind of different form and in terms of polluted, not polluted, salts, not like I just think it's when I think of nature, I immediately think of water. Not only because it's such a valuable part of our natural world, but it's a big part of our just talking about people. It's a big part of our lives too, and how we just survive. So connecting with nature, anytime I'm kind of sat near a body of water, I feel like I really feel the power. It's calming and comforting.
I totally agree. Beaches and waters. I try to spend most do work sometimes that
Yeah.
it's just peaceful. Anything you want to let my listeners any last words?
Yeah, well, I want to say, thank you once again for having me on here, Manolo. And in terms of, yeah, what a closing words. I would say it's more important than ever to, reach out to each other and find value in community and connection with others. It's certainly a hard time in the world in so many different ways, but it's easier to give up hope, but together it becomes a lot harder, I think, to give up. And you know, I still see a bright future in a lot of ways, and I see that in the faces of the people I work with and connect with. And so I would say, yeah, keep your head up and just follow the path that you're on because things I believe can get better, and the only way they can get better is if we have that belief. So hang on, connect with others, lean on others. There's more power in that than sometimes can be quantified.
Totally, yes. I see a brighter future in you, the listener, and in us, and in the world. Thank you, Ben.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Ben is an absolute delight and a saint. So is his dad. The whole Kadlec family is amazing. Um, if you like what you heard, consider us giving us a follow and a review. And if you want to be behind the scenes or potentially a co-host with me, we have rolling positions open on a volunteer basis. But it's a fun experience, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the show. Uh, Next one is gonna be great. We're gonna have Gary from SGA on, so look forward to that. That's gonna be an amazing episode, and everything we mentioned in the show notes will be in the description of this episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Ben.